Well, what is happening, movie fans and kaiju fans alike? Welcome back to the channel. I am Vince, and today we have something very special for you guys. Today we are beginning MonsterVerse in review, where we will be reviewing every movie in the Warner Brothers and legendary kaiju monster universe, starring Godzilla and King Kong, including Godzilla vs. Kong, which is going to be released simultaneously in the theaters and on HBO Max March 25th, or was it March 31st? I think it was March 31st.
31st now.
Yeah, 31st. All right. Um, and so today we are going to start with the one that started it all. We're going to talk about the movie simply called Godzilla, released May 16th, 2014. And joining with me today, I have returning back to the channel. He is a Godzilla kaiju monster enthusiast, so I had to have him here with me. Returning back, we have Nick Folson.
Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and anyone who's right in the middle of the rainbow. How are we doing today?
Awesome. How's life treated you?
Oh, God, it's been busy because you know this, but our audience don't know this. I moved last year. I
Yeah.
moved literally right in the middle of the pandemic. I am now in New York City, and it's kind of a great thing because now, as of this date, literally yesterday, the theaters have opened back up here in New York City. So if things go well, I'll actually be watching Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters.
Awesome. I certainly want to see Godzilla versus Kong in theaters. And where I'm at, which is Michigan, I think they're going to start opening some theaters relatively soon. So if I get the chance, I'm going to try and watch Godzilla versus Kong in the theater. If not, I'm going to watch on HBO Max regardless. So because that's a movie you got to see on the big screen, man. That's something you got to see. Like the spectacles, these monsters
Mhm.
fighting, you got to see it on the biggest screen possible. So can't wait for that. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about Godzilla 2014. Before we begin, I guess we have to put a little, I guess, spoiler warning up because we're probably going to give away some details about the movie. This movie came out 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So I mean, if you guys haven't watched it by now, I don't know if you guys are gonna watch it. So I guess we got to put that
Uh, but
disclaimer
but
up.
wait,
Mhm.
but wait, Dwayne, we have to explain because there's definitely been a lot of new fans of Godzilla who've come on for these movies. So I think we need to do a crash course on what the hell is Godzilla. And
Oh,
luckily, I'm the guy to do it.
oh, don't worry. We're gonna get to that. We will get to that. And before we begin, if you guys like this review, you enjoy my content, I hope you strongly consider hitting that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing, please hit the bell while you're at it. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. So, what is Godzilla, as Nick said? Pretty simple. He is a giant lizard creature monster originated from Toho in Japan, where there's a bunch of these old movies of guys in rubber suits dressing up as kaiju monsters and fighting, and it's some of the coolest shit ever. So we are big kaiju fans. Like this is stuff we grew up watching, from Godzilla and Ultraman and Gundam and Voltron, Power Rangers, like this
Common Rider.
Common Riders, and he's big on Super Sentai as well. Like I'm starting to get a little bit in Super Sentai, but he's like the Sentai master as well. So this is stuff we grew up on. This is our thing. I
Actually, hold on a minute. I'll be right back.
okay.
Since being here in New York City, I literally now have two Common Rider bets.
Look at that. Look at
Oh
that
yeah.
glory.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So stay tuned. There will be a Common Rider podcast very soon, either on my channel or on this beautiful channel right here.
Oh boy, that's something I need to get into because I don't even know much about that, man. So you probably got to take the lead on that one. But um, but yeah, so Godzilla is probably like the biggest thing I follow other than Power Rangers. Yes, I'm a grown man and I watch Power Rangers, deal with it. But yeah, I grew up watching most of the Godzilla movies, even from back to the original one that came out in 1954. Saw that, and then all the Explorer versus movies like Mothra, King Ghidorah, Mecha Godzilla, the original Godzilla versus Kong that came out years ago. That was cheesy and hell and stupid, but I liked it. Um, and
Oh, it's
what'd you say?
nothing. I'm
We
gonna
get-
save my things, save my spiel for later.
all right, and so yeah, just pretty much watched most of them. So when it comes to Godzilla in the States, I know Godzilla's kind of a niche property for most people. I mean, it's known in the pop culture, but I don't know if it's like as popular as say some of the American properties we have here. So it's kind of a weird thing. People want to put it in the category with anime, which I'm like, I kind of see that, but it's I wouldn't fully go there. I mean, it's not much to understand. It's giant monsters fighting. I mean, of course they want to put some satire in there and like some like the 1954 film tried to have stuff that relates to, real world crisis today, but it's like it's pretty much monsters fighting. So that's pretty much what I come to these movies for. I don't expect like super complex storytelling or complex characters. I'm there for the monsters personally. So I've been wanting an authentic American adaptation of Godzilla. That's something I want. Even though I enjoy the cheesy movies, I want to see something modernized for today. The most recent Godzilla American Americanized movie before this one was the 1998 Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie, which I was not a fan of. It just completely went away from what the essence of Godzilla was. I mean, the overall design of the creature, that's one of the biggest controversies of the movie. I like the design personally, but when I look at it, that's not what I think of when it comes to Godzilla. If this was an original creature, I would be like, yeah, this is really cool. But they're telling me this is Godzilla, and he doesn't. Not only does he not look like it, but he doesn't act like it. He acts like a giant dinosaur, and Godzilla is more than that. On top of Matthew Broderick and all the other cheesy characters in that movie and the flat story, it just did not work for me. So when I heard that, Toho and Warner Brothers was going to get another shot of making Godzilla, I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to this. Let's see what they do with it. Hopefully, this time they will be more authentic to the character because Toho is going to have some affiliation with it to make sure that stuff looks right and feels right. Um, so the director they got for this movie is Gareth Edwards, who went on to direct Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'm personally not a big fan of Rogue One, but I know a lot of people love Rogue One. But yeah, I didn't know anything about him before that. He's more of an indie director, so we were open to seeing what he was going to do with that one. I remember the marketing for this movie, and I was instantly hooked. Especially those first couple of teasers they got. It was like so mysterious. It was creepy. It was atmospheric. Like the one shot I remember is these soldiers like jumping off an airplane and like landing in this like stormy like area where Godzilla is, and the haunting music, and I'm like, this is it. This is going to be it. This Godzilla is going to change things. I thought this was going to be the best Godzilla film ever made, including the older ones. Like this is going to change the game of Godzilla. Um, so I remember watching this in the theater, and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Um, was it everything I hoped for and more? No, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. I think it did enough to get the ball rolling. Like To me, this feels like Godzilla. This is Godzilla to me. I was really satisfied with how Godzilla turned out in this film. I loved how he looked. I liked how he was portrayed character wise. I like the atmosphere. I like the tone. Um, but there's certain things in this movie that keeps it from being a great Godzilla movie. Like it's good, but it was almost great, and there was things that keeping it from being great. But that's how I feel about Godzilla 2014. Nick, tell us your background on the whole Godzilla mythos, and how did you feel about this adaptation of Godzilla?
Oh, okay. So I have always loved giant monsters. Even when I first saw the original King Kong from the 1930s, I've always been a sucker. So when I see Godzilla, when I first saw my first Godzilla movie, which I can literally remember what it was Godzilla versus King Ghidorah from the Heisei era, from the Heisei movies. That was my first Godzilla movie. And then because this is going to date us. It's going to date us, Dwayne. We're that old now. On Stars Kids, they would show
Oh,
early morning marathons of the Heisei Godzilla movies. Oh yeah, you remember those?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And literally, I went through the entire marathon all the way from that. They never started, or I never caught when they showed Godzilla 84 and Godzilla versus Biollante. It would always be pretty much from King Ghidorah all the way to Destroya, and I watched those and I loved them. And then after that, I went backwards and saw all the show movies, starting with Gojira and then going all the way to Terror of Mechagodzilla, which those are just so much fun. And Dwayne actually had very good satire. Obviously, what we all know that Gojira, the original, is completely anti-war, nuclear threat, which makes sense because it comes from the currently, thank God, only country that has experienced nuclear warfare happened to its citizens, and also an anti-war. So it's literally made from people who experienced that. So it's completely, if you're expecting a very cheesy, the lighthearted camp that you see later in the Showa era, you're not going to find it in that first movie. No, the first movie is completely played straight and is and sometimes it's actually terrifying and dark. And then, since we have a new Godzilla vs. Kong, you should definitely check out the original one, which actually is a good satire. I mean, the Japanese version, not the English one. The English one kind of is meh, but
Yeah.
always check the original Japanese one. It's a actual critique and criticism of the rising popularity of television at the time in Japan. That's why it seems like very campy. It's actually a critique of the current rising popularity of TV in Japan, because it wasn't like here in America where, televisions here were a norm at the time. It was still a rising thing in Japan. But going to what Dwayne was talking about, the 98 Godzilla movie. So there is a very interesting story about just Godzilla in America. When Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin were working on that movie, the design originally was made by Stan Winston Studios, the people from behind Stan Winston, and you can actually look up the design. It's pretty much still available online, and it looked very much like a neurotypical Godzilla. He pretty much stood on his hind legs, scales on the back. It looked really good. But they scrapped that design and actually went with the design by, I can't remember his first name, but Mr. Totopoulos, which is why Matthew Broderick's character in that movie is named Nick Totopoulos, which is named after the creator. The creator design that made the design we all know, and even Toho at the time, not Toei. Toei that's a different company, but Toho saw the design. Even they were like, "Huh,
But what is this?
okay." And I used to hate the 98 movie. I used to hate it with a passion. I was like, this is not Godzilla. It's not Godzilla. But now that it's been nearly over 20 years since that movie's come out, I've warmed up to it. It's a standard 90s American monster movie. Like, if you scrap that it's Godzilla, it's an average monster movie, and but if you tack on that name, it doesn't do justice. Like it's luckily nowadays a lot of Godzilla fans have warmed up to Zilla as he's now known in Toho's copyright. That's a whole other can of worms, but it's still warmed up. So, but after that movie bombed, there were a lot of other plans to get an American Godzilla movie happening. The one of the most well-known ones is a movie it was a movie that was going to be called Godzilla 3D to the Max, which was supposed to come out in the 2000s. And it was supposed to be Godzilla raging across America, fighting a pretty much new version of classic Godzilla monster, Hedorah, if you don't know who Hedorah is, he is a giant, pretty much smog monster. He's a giant blob of pollution and whatnot, and Godzilla fought him in the 70s. He was going to fight a new version of that character. That didn't happen. But then 2014, well, not even 2014, we got to go back to 2013 to Comic-Con, where Legendary Pictures held, a panel, and they released the first trailer for Godzilla 2014, and it was a pure ambience immersive trailer that still has not been officially released, which is the weird thing. Even now, after all these years, you would think it would have been released, but you can definitely find someone's cam rip of it available online. And it was literally, when I first saw that trailer, I got goosebumps. I was like, that looks really good. So then when the movie finally came out, I actually did not see it in theaters because I didn't have time to see it in theaters because I was what the French call a broke bitch. So I got it on DVD and Blu-ray when it came out on home media, and I watched it and I thought this was great. They actually got what makes Godzilla work. While yes, there are some issues that we will talk about later in this, first impressions, I very much enjoyed it. I thought they actually did a great job encapsulating Godzilla. So I very much enjoyed it from what we have.
Did you, going back to the 98 one real quick, did you watch the animated series of that?
Oh God, I think I saw a episode of it, but I never fully caught on to it because I was in that time of that's not Godzilla. I don't want to watch that goddamn. Yeah. But now I've seen it now as an adult, and it's actually much better than the actual movie. Right. That one actually feels more like Godzilla than it was. But so I hope they put that somewhere on like Netflix or something because it's actually decent. I would recommend if you didn't like the 98 version, give the animated series a try because that one feels more like classic Godzilla than what we got, which is kind of disappointing. But hey, right, what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do? Okay,
but no, let's talk about 2014.
2014.
So. This wasn't Gareth Edwards' first foray. There we go. There's the word. Foray. Big word. Monsters. He actually, one of his most well-known movies before this was the movie Monsters, which I believe he made I can't remember if he's Australian or British. I do apologize for that, but
I think he's Australian. I think he is. You guys can correct me in the comments if it's wrong. But
I was right. He's from England. I was right. He's from England.
There I go.
But yes, he made a movie 4 years before making Godzilla, which is called Monsters, which was actually Gareth Edwards' directorial feature film debut. That was his debut, and it's about pretty much monsters pretty much attacking over in America, and it's kind of how to describe it? It's kind of like I Am Legend, but instead of vampires and zombies, they're just giant monsters. And I think it's pretty decent. I would recommend if you haven't watched it, give it a try, give it a chance. It's actually pretty decent.
I might have to give it a try then. I haven't seen it, and I guess I can see why they picked him for Godzilla then. because it was like a monster premise with that one. Um, so I guess I want to talk about first is the tone and the atmosphere of this movie. This this was something that stood out to me the most, well, other than Godzilla himself, but like the overall tone and atmosphere of this movie, it felt different from anything we've seen from the previous movies. Like it feels big. Like I don't know how simple I can put it. It feels big. It feels grand. Like you, the cinematography for this movie is jaw dropping. Like amazing. I all the special effects, all the like the locations and stuff like that, and just overall how he does the scale for these monsters is just great. Some of his cinematography
Hmm.
bled into Rogue One because the cinematography for that I thought was really good as well. It feels big and grand and stuff like that. So Gareth Edwards really has an eye for cinematography, so I really like that. And then another thing with the tone, I'm actually glad that they went more serious with this one because they easily could have went with what was familiar with the previous movies, with it being cheesy and over the top, and not making it super complex, which I enjoy those, but it's like I think it was good for them to get away from that formula, to have them differentiate themselves from that, and to have the American audience take this property more seriously, because we already know that when it comes to American audiences, it's kind of hit or miss with Godzilla. So it's like I'm glad like they took the property seriously. It reminded us about with Gojira, the first Gojira, where it was more of a serious tone. So I'm glad they harkened back to that tone with this movie. Um,
Yeah, it definitely works because pretty much before this, the last Godzilla movie that was ever made was made 10 years prior to this in 2004 with Godzilla Final Wars, which was the 50th anniversary movie. And it definitely that movie is definitely popcorn. It is a popcorn flick. It's pretty much the Matrix meets giant monsters. While a lot of fun, not the most serious movie. So it's definitely a good thing that they made this more serious and trying to make grounded in some sort of reality for American fans, because Godzilla fans, they've been waiting for this, but for casual American audiences, they would be like, oh, where's that Godzilla? Are they gonna go check that out? And if we got like what we have with King of the Monsters right out of the get go, that may definitely scare some people off. So it's a kind of a good thing that they went serious, then embrace, like with the original series, went serious, then embrace the silliness later.
like they ease us into this monster world, like just having us get used to the overall world that they built. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. They didn't off the bat be like, oh, look at all these monsters destroying everything. It's like they take their time. Just it reminds me of the Alien franchise with Alien, because that was more of a slow burn and you only had one alien. And then the next movie, then they scaled it up with more than one alien, and there's a freaking alien queen as well. So it's like I like that they transitioned us into that slowly. Now, as far as the human characters, it's a little shaky for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about our protagonists.
Okay, so I don't know how you feel about this, Nick, but for me, the when it comes to the human characters, they have they have one that I think is the best human character in the MonsterVerse so far, and also have the weakest human character of the MonsterVerse so far. So
Oh, is it Bryan Cranston and literally Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Aaron Taylor Johnson. So yes, Bryan Cranston. Let's start with him. He was great in this movie. He was so good. It's like I'm so glad they were able to get an actor like him to be in this movie. It's like you wouldn't think you could get like these high class actors for a Godzilla film, but not only that they were able to get him, he brought a sense of gravitas and weight to the movie. It's like he helped us to take this seriously. And it's like invested in his story with his wife, how he lost his wife to the nuclear power plant collapsing because of allegedly was because of either Godzilla or the Mutos. I'm not sure. They didn't fully flesh that out. We'll talk about that later. But it's like I like that whole development that he had with him losing his wife and him trying to figure out what's causing these natural disasters and like how the government's trying to cover all that up. And he's like, you this is not an earthquake, this is not a natural disaster, you are hiding something, and if you don't tell us what's going on and help us prepare for what's about to happen, we're all going to die. So my wife died because of this, man. I don't want the same thing to happen to everyone else. So it's like I really bought his performance, I really liked it. And it's like I do say I think he is the best human character in the MonsterVerse so far of all three movies we have so far. It's just like he's the one that took this property, he gave the most care to this property out of everyone in my opinion. Even though I do like at least most of the characters after this, more or half of them. Like there's some that stood out, but for him, he was the best in my opinion. What do you think about it?
Oh yeah, I think that's the main consensus of this movie that everyone has is that Bryan Cranston was the best part of the whole movie. Literally his when he's given his little monologue, it's fantastic. And it actually was the Mutos that were behind the Janjita power plant incident that caused that it was a catalyst. It was the Mutos, not Godzilla. But
Okay. That wasn't fully clear to me when I recently watched it. Like, was it Godzilla? Was it the Mutos? I'm not sure.
But
Okay.
yeah, it literally he always just was the best part of the whole movie. And also Ken Watanabe, he was fantastic too as
Yes.
Dr. Serizawa. And but let's talk about Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays a Ford Brody, his son. And
Yeah.
he becomes the main the main focal focus point for us to gather as our human character. And well, Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's a great actor. He is a fantastic actor. He's just playing a generic American military guy, and it's really a detriment to him as an actor. Like he's serviceable for this movie. That's which is really disappointing. But there is actually a really cool thing that was supposed to be in the movie but didn't happen was in a scene that was cut from the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Ford Brody actually had an encounter with Akira Takara. If I'm let me see if I hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. But if you're wondering, Nick, who is that? That's just a Japanese guy. You'll be wrong. That was Ogata from the original Gojira. He actually they filmed a scene with Ford Brody meeting a guy played by Takarada, Akira Takarada. There we go. I looked it up. But they filmed him as a customs officer who had greeted Brody to Tokyo. But sadly, that scene was cut. So it would have been a very nice thing. The first hero for the franchise, meaning the most recent one. So kind of a nice passing the torch, but that scene sadly was cut at the end.
Like, why would you cut that out, man? Like that fan service, Easter eggs. Like, come on, that would have been good.
Yeah. But no, I there's a scene I want to talk about that that when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, they got the move, they got him. It was the airport scene.
Oh, oh, okay.
I see your face. Dwayne's like, wait, airport scene? What airport
Yeah,
scene? Like,
I'm
oh, I
oh
remember.
yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Like I was like, oh, okay,
Like,
okay.
because actually, before we talk about the Godzilla, let's talk about our first monster we had at the time in over.
Before we do, I
Ooh,
just want to talk about Aaron Taylor Johnson real quick. So I I guess I haven't seen enough of him. You probably seen more of his movies than I have because I'm going off of just Kick Ass mostly because I think that's the only other thing I've seen him in, and I thought he was good in that, but he wasn't the standout of the movie. It was Hit Girl and what was his dad's name?
uh, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Yeah, like they were the standouts too. But like I think for me, I think he's a fine actor. Like I think he works best when he's working off of other people. So that was one of my issues with him. Like not only did they didn't give him a lot to do, but it's the fact that, spoilers, that Bryan Cranston's character dies like in second act of the movie, and he was the best part of the film. And it's like, why would you do that? And it's like they really wasted an opportunity to develop develop the father-son relationship between Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. Like this could have been a father-son mission of them trying to stop the Mutos and help Godzilla and stuff like that, or at least Bryan Cranston's character could be with Ken Watanabe's character to figure out all the occurrences and stuff like that and get more development with Godzilla, because to be honest, he didn't really get fulfillment of that before he died. I mean, yeah, he encountered the Mutos, but it's like he wanted to know everything that was going on, and Godzilla was part of it, and he didn't even know about that before he died. So I thought that was a wasted opportunity. So having Aaron and Taylor Johnson be the main lead of the movie, I guess it's just more due to the writing than his actual performance, but it's just like his stuff fell flat. He's not awful, but it's just when I'm comparing him to the other human characters in Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I think they're going to be better characters than Godzilla versus Kong. But when I'm comparing them to the other characters, he doesn't do much. Even um, Elizabeth Olsen, who plays his wife, doesn't have much to do either. It's just with the son for most of the time, which I'm like, that's fine. Somebody got to be with the son. Not everyone has to be in danger, but it's like these are two. I know Elizabeth Olsen is a really good actress. I really like her, and we recently finished WandaVision, and like she is selling me as a great actress, and it's just like it was just sad that she didn't get much to do either. But yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson just he needed Bryan Cranston there with him, and it would have elevated the human stuff more. But and we'll get more into details when it comes to the monsters stuff like that. But anyway, go ahead, continue what you were going to say.
Oh God, what was I gonna
You
say?
were going to talk about
Ah, yes. Let's talk
yeah.
about this. They're actually giving Godzilla a monster to fight, which is the first monster at this time. Was the first monster we had in over 10 years. The Mutos.
the-
Now now that is technically their official title, even though in the MonsterVerse that title stands for, oh God, was isn't massively unidentified terrestrial organism.
Good.
That is, yeah, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And the Mutos, they're good for this movie. They're a lot of people think that they're bugs, but they're not actually insects. They're mammals. They're actually mammals, because if you look when spoiler alert for a nearly 10-year-old movie, literally it's available on home media and you can find it on TV. Go watch this movie. When Godzilla kills the female Muto, because there's two, there's a male and female Muto. When Godzilla kills the female one, you can see her pretty much her spinal cord dangling from her head, from her decapitated head that Godzilla pretty much atomic blasted off. I know you can barely see because this is another criticism I have of the movie. It's too damn dark.
Yeah, like
It's
the lighting is like really dark.
I don't know what the hell were they thinking, but it's
I
too
think
damn dark.
I think that's once again they were trying to make a similar aesthetic to the Gojira movie, because that was lit really dark and black and white. So I think that they were trying to like emulate that somewhat without making it black and white. But it's like it's so dark, and it's just like the designs and the monsters look so good. We want to see that. It's like,
Mhm.
and it's I mean, I don't know. I guess like I don't mind them being fighting at night, but it's just like it's all just pitch black and gas everywhere and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah, thank God it looks like they've learned from that, from movies going up like Kong Skull Island. Majority of that takes place during the daytime where you can actually see things. And King of Monsters, at least they've added, brightened it up more from the darkness. And Godzilla vs. Kong, it looks like they're just going balls in and went Pacific Rim on like the scene current, like as we said before, currently at the time we're making this, it's not available yet. But going from the trailers, they're fighting in a city, but it's lit up like a Christmas tree that we can actually see things. And there's day fights. That was a big critique that I had with this movie is, and also the MonsterVerse in general, was let them fight in the day. Show off your monsters. You don't want to keep them submerged in the dark. Show off your monsters. Show them off. You can flex. We have the budget. We have the technology. Let's do it. Actually, and speaking of technology, this actually is not the first time Godzilla was computer generated. He had a cameo in a movie called Always Sunset on Third Street that came out in Japan. There's a dream sequence that happens in the movie. It's a comedy movie, so it's not like it tied to any Godzilla movie, but he has a cameo in it, and he's completely computer generated. This is the first Godzilla movie in the franchise to have the monsters fully computer generated. Fully, because even back in 98 they still had some actual practical effects, but this is the first time he's in computer generated. And Andy Serkis himself was actually, he helped supervise the motion capture, and the motion capture was done for Godzilla was done by TJ Storm, who you can follow on Instagram. He's a great guy. And also two men named Matt Cross and Lee Ross. We don't have much information on who those two are. Like, they have, no one's come out and said that they're them. So they could be pseudonyms, or for anyone, for some actors who don't want to be recognized. I get it, but yes, this was the first time that Godzilla was in motion capture, and that would go on to pretty much be what Godzilla has been so far in the MonsterVerse, and even with Shin Godzilla, that was all motion capture. Even though they filmed stuff with a practical puppet, but they never used it. And don't worry about Shin Godzilla. We won't be talking to him for this series of podcast, but we will get to him because I want to talk about that. That's literally become my favorite of the franchise. But this one, another thing that happened with this movie is they didn't have the Godzilla theme, the famous, like, worldwide famous Godzilla theme. They went with music by Alexandre Desplat, and
he did the Harry Potter movies, just to let you know.
And I think this theme is a great theme for this Godzilla. And they did go back with King of the Monsters with Bear McCready to do a rendition of the Godzilla theme, and with that soundtrack, which is fantastic. But this is a great ambient soundtrack, which was the perfect thing to do with this movie, because I mean, fans would want to hear Godzilla and the Godzilla theme playing. Like, that everyone wants that. But for starting something new and pretty much rekindling something, it was definitely a great thing to play it straight. Yes. With this, no Godzilla theme, no like triumph. Well, there was a triumphant, but no blaring the Godzilla theme at the top of our lungs at this time.
I'll be honest though. Some people probably won't agree with me, but it's like, I'm actually glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't use the Godzilla theme in this too, because I don't feel like tonally that would work for this iteration of Godzilla, because it's such a triumphant, like, it's like a headbanging. It's like yeah. It's that type of tone with that, and it's like that's not what the tone of this Godzilla is. It's like it's tragedy, it's intense, it's intimate. It's like, so I don't feel like that would work for this Godzilla. It works better with King of the Monsters, which we'll get to later on in the month. But it's like, I'm actually glad. Yeah, me too. I'm glad that they did original music for this one. Talking about the Mutos again real quick. I really like the Mutos in this. Their original creations from Warner Brothers and Legendary. So this is the first time we're seeing these creatures. I really like the designs of them. We didn't know what Godzilla was going to fight in this movie. We didn't even know if he was going to fight any creatures in this film. But so that was kept a mystery till we saw the movie. That he was there weren't in the marketing at all. So I'm glad that was good.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that because I remember this when the trailers came out and we saw like a flying creature. So many people thought it was going to be Rodan. I remember that so many people thought it was going to be Rodan or Mothra. I will confess I was at first, but then I was like, well, I don't think they're going to do that. I thought it was going to be Rodan or something, but oh man, I remember all of those things. And there was even a hashtag at the time, Rodan confirmed, that was trending as a joke. That people who were there who were around at the time, they will remember that.
You gotta love all those speculation that was happening for me. Like, yeah, I did see the glimpse of the wings and stuff like that, and I was like, there's no way it was going to be Mothra because Mothra deserves more of an introduction than that, man. Like no, you don't do Mothra like that. And Rodan, I'll admit, I'm not the biggest Rodan fan, but I would have been okay if it was Rodan. But I'm like, I don't know if you would start I don't know if you would start this MonsterVerse with him. So I'm glad they saved him for the later movies. Um, One thing, aesthetic wise, what I liked about the Mutos is that I know it's a little thing, but they made the big one the female and the small winged one the male, and it's like I thought that was really cool because
Mhm.
when it comes to animals and it's like we normally like in our heads think of whoa what the female and the male would look like, and it's like with their anatomy, like there's no stereotypes with male and females. The big ones is the huge one carrying the eggs, and then this little one is like, oh, I just really like that. I like their different species too. There's one that's really big and one that flies. I thought that was pretty creative. And the red eyes they have and the claws, whatever, it's almost like they're like a bird or type thing, but not exactly. It's just really cool. It's a simplistic design, but it's really effective. I like that a lot. Um, but hey, let's talk about the man himself. Let's talk about Godzilla. Let's talk about his design. What did you think about his overall design, and how does this compare to the other designs of Godzilla to you?
So this Godzilla, when I first saw it, I was like, huh, it's very different. It's a very crocodilian design, and the spines, which usually are like shaped like maple leaves, were very more jagged and whatnot. And at the time, this was the biggest Godzilla we had since, because usually he's about I can't remember how big he was. I think he was 104 feet, while usually the classic more monsters, like hell, the original Godzilla was 50 meters in comparison. That's very small for a big city, even nowadays. Even in modern day Japan, he'd be like the size of a Twinkie compared to like modern Japan. But this was at the time the biggest Godzilla we've had. Now it's been dwarfed by Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Earth from the Netflix Godzilla anime series, which that one, he's 300 meters tall. He's the tallest Godzilla that's ever been made at this time. And it was really a unique thing that we had for this Godzilla. But one and the roar, I liked how the roar was still the signature Godzilla roar, but they did something different with it. They made it a lot more animalistic than just rubbing a glove with pine resin on a contrabass, which is that's actually how they made the Godzilla roar. If you didn't know, that's how we got that famous sound. But I think the one thing that we all loved about this Godzilla, and Dwayne, you'll agree with me, two words: atomic breath.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
That
That
scene, that scene, when literally we see the just you see him glowing blue, and literally when I first saw it, this was my reaction, like, wait a
with the
minute,
tail.
oh,
Yeah.
and then when I literally was like, yes, they did it, they actually did it. Literally, that was like, they got it. We can go home, everyone. We got a Godzilla, and the thing I love with this version of Godzilla is the turbine sound that plays when he's charging up the It's his atomic breath. I love that. Like his tail just flickers and you hear the that's something unique. That hasn't been done. That wasn't done before. And it makes this incarnation unique.
Yeah, I like that they put more detail into the anatomy of the kaiju monsters. Like they're showing every little detail of how it breathes and how it moves and how its biology is. And that little thing right there, you just when hearing the pump up with the atomic breath, and you see the tail just lighting up to his back, and it's like I remember seeing that in the theater, and it got a huge applause when he was pumping up his atomic breath. I was freaking out too when that happened because I wasn't even thinking about the atomic breath when I was watching it for the first time. I wasn't even thinking about are we going to get the atomic breath or whatever. So they did a really good job of just saving that and building that up. So yeah, that was one of the highlights for me. Um, I really like Godzilla's design in this one. I would say this might be my favorite design of Godzilla, even though I really like the Godzilla 2000 design. That's probably my other favorite, if
Mm-hmm.
not this one. But yeah, I really like this one. First of all, he looks more like Godzilla, and I like how more he looks more massive than the original one.
He is a chunky boy.
Yeah, I
He
know
is
that.
a chunky boy.
I got a lot of stupid comments on the internet, be like, "Why is Godzilla fat?" It's like he's not fat. Like, stop.
Yeah, it was.
I
I
didn't. I didn't care about that. He looked great. He looked bulky, and I liked that. And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, the more reptilian design, as you said, that it looked really good for him too.
but yeah, with this version of Godzilla, it's not my favorite. I think this Godzilla kind of got the literally in his later appearances became a lot better. I think, but because my favorite designs, like my top three, are Shin Godzilla, Godzilla from Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack,
Oh,
and
yeah, I got that.
Godzilla 2000. Those are my favorite. Those are I think those are like perfect. Can't top those, but
I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of Shin Godzilla. It is so crazy, bro. I mean, there's some cool things in it. And yeah, his design is really badass. Like I'll admit that. Like it's something out of a horror film, but it's like it's just really insane for me. Like
oh,
the premise and stuff. Like oh my god, I was like, what am I watching?
Dwayne, then I hope you're ready to watch Shin Ultraman. Oh yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
we got it. You hope you're ready to watch that because that's going to be good. Because I will. I have by thanks from lovely people at Shout Factory and from Tokusatsu on Pluto TV, you can watch Ultraman right now. And please do, because it's actually really damn good. I'm shocked how I didn't catch on to Ultraman, and it's like really good.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that. For sure. If I could do an Ultraman in review. So,
And actually, thanks Subarai Productions, the people who make Ultraman, they actually aired the most recent Ultraman series, Ultraman Z, on YouTube. Literally, you can watch the whole series on YouTube, and it's only this what shocked me because I'm coming from Kamen Rider and Sentai, which are usually 49 to 45 episodes. This is only 25 episodes. So when it was at the end, I was like, we're at the end already? I thought we were just getting started. And it was but I very much enjoyed it as my first Ultraman series. So I definitely recommend watching it. Super Ride has been doing a lot of good stuff, and plus, I know I'm still talking about Ultraman on a
yeah, it was
Godzilla podcast,
Ultraman.
a fucking blasphemy. But Ultraman is available on DVD now in America, so you can watch Ultraman: The Return of Ultraman, Ultra Seven, Ultraman Taro, Ultraman Leo, Ultra Q, which I think you'll like Ultra Q, Dwayne. It's like what if the Twilight Zone met giant monsters?
Oh, interesting.
But yes, sorry for my tangent. I had to vent. I had to gush.
Well, actually, I have one more question about you about Ultraman. Have you watched the Netflix Ultraman show?
I have not, which is blasphemy. I know, but I've been putting it back because I've been wanting to watch it. But yes, speaking of Netflix anime, Dwayne, have you seen the Pacific Rim anime?
Is it out already?
It's out. It's out. It came out like on the 4th.
Oh wow! You know what? We probably got to do a Pacific Rim review, man, because I only
Yeah.
I only did the Uprising review like a couple years back, so we need to revisit those and talk about
Mhm.
that too. So that will be on the channel in the near future. But yeah, anyway, back to Godzilla. Um, I want to talk real quick about Monarch because that's like the big organization that's tracking these monster occurrences or whatever. I guess people wanted to compare it to this is the shield of the MONSTERVERSE.
Mhm.
How did you feel they executed Monarch in
I
this
think
movie?
they did pretty well starting out. Obviously, I don't want them to go fully like this is what Monarch is, bam, bam, bam. Like they built it up, and I like an organ. I always am a sucker for like an organization or a group of people that are targeting Godzilla. Like back in Godzilla 2000, there was like the Godzilla awareness protection program that was something like that. Or back in the Heisei era with like Miki Saigusa and like just a group of people who are tied to Godzilla. I've always loved that. So seeing like an organization deal with Godzilla, that's always a lot of fun. And plus, we get Ken Watanabe, who he has never, I don't think in his entire career, given a bad performance or has not, or like Bryan Cranston, he gives 110%, even though he's not the focus at this time. He still sells it. And plus, we all have the iconic "Let them fight."
Like the fight, bruh, iconic, iconic. I don't care what people say. That was great. Yeah, I really liked. Yeah, I liked Monarch as well. I thought they executed really well. It doesn't feel like a carbon copy of Shield. It's its own thing. It doesn't operate the same way, so that's why like I can buy it because I think you do need an organization that's tracking down these monsters. Like it would fall flat if it's just another government thing, whatever that we don't care about because the government ruins everything because they just want to blow everything up, just like they do in this movie. The solution is blowing everything up, even though they tried to blow up Godzilla with a nuclear bomb like years ago and that didn't work, but they think, oh, let's try it again. And not only that, you're going to give the Mutos unlimited power, and then they're gonna lay their nest, and then there's going to be multiple Mutos around the world. What's that government song again?
I'm government. I'm government. I'm the reason nothing works.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ, man. But yeah, and I really liked Ken Watanabe as well. I like him being the lead of Monarch, and it's like you feel like he actually respects and appreciates the creatures. It's just not another person that just wants to kill them or whatever. He understands their role on the planet, and so he's just trying to study it and trying to make peace with it. So
Yeah.
that's what I really liked about it.
Yes, and that's another thing I like about the MonsterVerse is that they're not really monsters; they're actual biological creatures from the planet. It's pretty much like the equivalent of how we have humanity, and then there are different animals that are on the planet. These are just different animals. They're not like purely mutated monsters like the classic. This is their titans as they will become known later. But that was one thing I thought was really interesting is that they made it clear that they're not like mutated creatures, they're actual living organisms.
Yes. Yes, I like that they treated them like actual animals, you know. Um, unlike other franchises that completely forget what these creatures are, Jurassic Park, they actually treat them like actual animals and not just crazy kaiju monsters that want to destroy everything. The Jurassic Park just, oh my gosh. Dominion, I hope it's okay. I hope Dominion's okay, but I hope that needs to be the last one. That
I
needs to be
think
the
it
last.
is the last one.
I
I
hope
think.
I hope so. Um, we didn't talk about Sally Hawkins' character, Vivian. I thought she was solid.
Yeah,
She was pretty
she
good.
was a good foil for Sarazawa, which
Mhm.
obviously if Godzilla fans recognize the name Sarazawa, you should because that was one of the main characters, like pretty much really the hero of the movie of Gojira, who was the creator of the Oxygen Destroyer, which spoilers for a nearly over 60-year-old film, that was the weapon that killed the original Godzilla, which Save that for Godzilla King of the Monsters because I actually squealed like a little girl in King of the Monsters when it showed up. But Serizawa was the man who created the Oxygen Destroyer in Gojira, and he sacrificed himself so that no one else, no countries would use it for evil. And that was a really good thing that they kept that with that they brought a Serizawa because actually speaking from the producer standpoint, a former Godzilla director who actually was part of the MonsterVerse's conception, Yoshimitsu Banno, who directed Godzilla versus Hedorah. See, look at that tie way back to Godzilla versus Hedorah. It's almost like I know what the hell I'm doing. But no, he directed Godzilla versus Hedorah, and he was producer for pretty much this movie, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is dedicated to him because sadly he passed away during King of the Monsters. And it's also dedicated to the man, the myth, the legend, Haruo Nakajima, who pretty much played Godzilla from Gojira up to Terra Mecha Godzilla. He was the original Godzilla. And definitely look up who Nakajima-san is. He was incredible because it's not easy playing Godzilla. He made like those suits are not just like a Halloween costume or the giant, inflatable suits that we see people wear. Those suits are literally over 100 pounds, and you have to pretty much walk in them, walk through a miniature city, and also deal with the harsh, hot lighting in a set. He actually collapsed, passed out due to exhaustion while making the original Godzilla, and he fell on his back and hurt himself during Godzilla versus Kong. It's really hard in those suits. They obviously, fix them and improve them over the course of the making of those films, but it's not easy to be a suit actor sometimes.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and this goes for other stuff like Ultraman and Power Rangers and stuff like that. It's like I give a lot of respect and kudos to those people working those costumes, man. It's like they make it, and they made them look very believable as well. Like, uh, much respect. Men in suits, practical effects, always respect them. All right. So I want to talk about my biggest issue with this movie. And I know this is a criticism we hear a lot when it comes to this movie, and that is the cutting away from the Godzilla action. So I I try to appreciate the slow burn when it comes to movies because I feel that's a dying art. Like for most movies, they're really fast. They get to the point real quick. They don't take their time to slowly build it. They want to give you the stuff now because they're afraid that the movie going audience today's attention span is so short. We have to get their attention really quick. And it's like I remember back in the day when Jaws and Jurassic Park and Alien and stuff like that, Terminator, where they're all, took their time and their slow burn and they build up to the suspense and stuff like that. Like I really appreciate that. And I do appreciate Godzilla doing it for this. But at the same time, I feel like they were overindulgent in that. Like, let's not forget, like, we don't see Godzilla almost an hour into this movie. And then the first time we see him, it was in Hawaii. You're like, I like how when he emerges from the ocean, he causes a tsunami in
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii. Like that's an amazing buildup. And like the Muto's there, and they're at that airport or whatever, and you see his foot stomp, and then you get that pan up of Godzilla, and you get that iconic basic Godzilla roar, and it's like, yeah, let's go, we're about to fight. And then what do? They cut away with the kid watching it on TV. And then they cut to the next day. I'm like, wait, what? What happened? Like it was nighttime and we're in the daytime. Like what happened? Like there was a fight that happened. And I was like, okay, fine, all right. You gonna tease me? You gonna make me wait? Okay, fine. Let's keep watching and probably give us in the next scene. And so the next time we see him, It's him just swimming with the military next to them. It's like, okay, okay,
Great
sure.
shot. That's a fantastic
That
shot.
isn't that's a really nice shot. Yes, I like that a lot. That's like almost every shot in this movie desktop wallpaper. Like
Hmm.
goddamn. But
And it even got better. It even got better with every movie. I think King of the Monsters has so many shots that are someone's wallpaper nowadays.
mhm. And then there's they're in the middle of the city and it's raining and the flying mutos like around, and then Godzilla emerges out of nowhere, and then I think Elizabeth Olsen's character is about to hide in a bunker somewhere, and then you see the muto and the Godzilla, they're about to encounter, they get snappy at each other, and then they close the doors and they cut to something else. I'm like, what? You're doing this again? I was like, okay, all right, let's do this again. Let's do this again. And then you have the military following the mutos or whatever, and then you see Godzilla emerging next to was it the San Francisco Bridge or whatever, with the bus driver and the kids or whatever,
You
and then
mean
on the
the Golden Gate Bridge?
Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, I'm sorry.
Dwayne,
I'm in.
Dwayne,
I'm.
everyone from California now hates you. I hope you realize that. Good lord.
I apologize. I'm sorry, man. Like if I apologize, I don't mean to offend
Alright.
any people from California. They go to so many locations in this movie. There's San Francisco, there's Hawaii, there's California. Like they go and Japan. Like there's so many places. Sorry if I have a hard time keeping up. But anyway,
Oh, what is that building? Oh, that's the San Francisco Bridge. Oh, what's that building? Oh, is that the Mackinac? No, that's the Detroit Bridge.
you know what? Shut up, Hertz of Virginia. He thought Herzegovina was Herzegovina. What is that?
I'm wounded. I'm wounded.
It should be internal bleeding everywhere. Anyway, you have Godzilla at the bridge and all the military shooting at them, and then there was going to be another encounter with the Mutos, but then they cut away from that, and then literally an hour and 40 minutes in, that's when we get the big fight between Godzilla and the two Mutos. And granted, that last fight was fantastic. I loved it. We're gonna gush about it in a minute. But my issue with them cutting away so many times, it's gotten to the point where it's frustrating because the the best way to do slow burns is if you don't show the monster completely. That's how slow burns are executed best. We already got a full shot of Godzilla an hour in Hawaii. And so at that point, you got to give us something, man. Like you can't pretend like we don't know what the monster looks like or what the monster can do. Like that's how Jaws is able to build up that the shark because we barely see the shark. And then when we do, that's when they give us everything. That's when they show what the shark is attacking people, whatever, full on shots. That's what they did with Alien. You don't see the full out Alien until like almost a third way into the movie, but it's like you get certain glimpses, you get the tail, you get the head or whatever, but then when they show the full body of the alien, then they don't hide it anymore, then you see the alien full out attacking the humans. But in this, when we already see what Godzilla looks like, and then you're just going to keep cutting away to the fight, that's like you're almost blue balling us at this point. Like you have to give us at least one fight before the big fight at the end. At least one thing to give us a glimpse of what Godzilla's strength is and how he fights. Like you got to give us a glimpse of that. You don't have to give us the atomic breath right away. You don't have to give us that, but you have to give us something for making us wait for so long. Like I would have, because in the way they cut to after the aftermath, it just felt very abrupt. Like them fighting in Hawaii, and then we just cut to daytime. It felt like they filmed a fight between the Muto and Godzilla, but they decided at the last minute, no, we're going to cut that out because we want to make them wait. It's like it doesn't feel natural with the editing. It just felt like they just abruptly just took it out. But anyway, how did you feel about them just teasing us so many times?
Oh, I'm pretty much with everyone else that it's that is the weakest part of this movie is the fake outs. are so just they're slog to get through. And literally, like Dwayne was saying, when you first see Godzilla, it's a triumphant return, but then they cut to a news feed of the fight. And it's like, okay, it's a little funny, but come on now. And then they do it again. And it's like, fool me once. How could you? Fool me twice. That hurts. Fool me three times. You're officially that guy. You're gonna become that guy. And at least the fight we got at the end was sort of worth it. But
Oh,
at least
really?
like at least we do end up with a fight because the final fight in San Francisco is pretty good. It's not the best of the Godzilla franchise, but it is a
No.
decent fight.
Yeah, and it's like we wouldn't, and like I think the we wouldn't mind as much with them doing the fake outs if the characters, the human characters, were stronger. Like because like neither of these like really serve the story as well as they should. It's like we can't fall back on the humans that much because they're not given that much to do. And then so we want to cut back to the monsters, but you're not giving us enough of that either. So it's just like that's my thing about that. But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the money. Let's talk about that ending fight. You say it's pretty good. I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's not the best of the MonsterVerse. Like we save that for Kong and Godzilla King of the Monsters because it keeps getting better and better. But it's like as an introduction to Godzilla, I thought it was really good. Um, and what I really liked about this fight is that they didn't make Godzilla. They didn't make him like this immortal like creature that's easily able to dispatch these creatures. He was actually having kind of a hard time with both of them, double teaming both of the Mutos double teaming him. So I like that they kind of humanized Godzilla a little bit, where it's like, I mean, he's not no punk. He was whooping their ass a little bit, but it's like he was like, oh my god, what's up with these double teaming, man? It's like, oh Jesus Christ. Like I like that they showed that, he's not like I guess what people say a Mary Sue type thing. It's like well, as soon as Godzilla comes in, he's just gonna take care of everything really easily. And it's like I like that the humans somewhat needed to assist them with stopping all the eggs from hatching or whatever, or stopping the radioactive bomb that's about to explode or whatever. So like the nice incorporation of everything going in there. And then when they fight, it is it is a oh my god. People want to complain about the destruction in Man of Steel. The destruction in San Francisco with those three monsters fighting. It is it is insane. Oh my god. Buildings on top of buildings on top of buildings just collapsing. Like Jesus Christ, I would not want to be in that city when those monsters are fighting. It is crazy. I love it though. It's crazy. It's you get once again, they do a really good job with showing how massive in scale these monsters are. And like these monsters that big would cause that much damage and stuff like that. So I really like that a lot. Um there were some points in the fight where the flying Muto was flying past whatever, and Godzilla's just staring at him with a mean look, and then he slowly just whacks his tail and hits him up against the building. I was like, oh, that's great. They gave Godzilla such personality. Like I didn't think they were going to give him that much personality. It's like it just he really came across as he felt like a character in himself, even though he doesn't talk. But it's like I really like the little mannerisms and stuff that they gave him. So it just didn't make him feel like a one-dimensional creature. And yeah, the fire breath. Oh, that was great. I loved it. And it was blue. Like I know it's a little thing. Like, well, who cares what color it is? I like that they made it blue because most of his atomic breath is blue. They could have played around with it and made it a cooler color. Like, you know what? What if it was orange or whatever? But no, I'm glad they stick with it being blue. It could have been a brighter atomic breath. I felt like it was a little bit faded, whatever. But
It felt more like fire
yeah.
than actual breath, but they've refixed it now. It looks perfect
Oh, it
now.
looks great now. Yes, but yeah, I would love that. And I bruh, yeah, we talked about it earlier when that the female Muto looks like he's about to attack Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, and then Godzilla just comes out of nowhere, takes her face, opens her mouth. Now before he does what he does, I'm thinking, okay, because I'm going off of Peter Jackson's King Kong, because remember when he's fighting the T Rex and he just opens their mouth and just
The
snaps
classic
their
jaw ripper.
jaw ripper. So I thought that's what Godzilla was going to do to that Muto. But then he looks down in it, and then you hear the atomic breath happening, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then he breathes atomic breath down the female Muto's throat. And that was another moment where when I was in the theater, everybody cheered. Like, God, that was one of my favorite moments in Godzilla history, bro. Like that. Oh my God, that was great. That was fantastic. Oh my gosh. And then he's just carrying the freaking head and roaring like he's Tarzan. Like, oh my God, that was amazing. It almost made me forgive almost all the times they did a fake out, because those moments in there, I'm like, okay, I forgive you. I forgive you. That stuff was good. So man, that was great. You have anything to add about that fight?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, like that was fantastic. But yeah, so the whole aftermath of that, you see like a news projection thing of savior of the city question mark king of the monsters. I'm like, okay, that's a little hokey. I don't know if I would go there just yet, but I mean, I guess they did stop the mutos from spreading or whatever. I guess I'm glad that they acknowledged that Godzilla's not completely the bad guy. And it's like, even when the government's like shooting at them, he's just like, oh God, these humans again, whatever. I don't
Yeah, because that's the
care.
nice thing with this is that really Godzilla's on no one's side. He's just there to set the balance of nature. He's not a good guy in this. He's not a bad guy. He is at the most point gray at most of this because if you don't know, the Mutos are a parasitic species. They are pretty much parasites. They implant themselves in other titans and they lay their eggs in them, and that's how Mutos are born. They did that to one of Godzilla's own species. That's the skeleton we see the Mutos in the beginning of the movie. That's pretty much one of Godzilla's ancestors, and they pretty much killed him and planted themselves into him. So it's kind of a both revenge tale and also setting the balance for them.
Yeah. So I really like that approach too. It's like they don't completely make him good, but they don't completely make him evil too, and setting the balance of nature. So I really like that approach to Godzilla. I think it gives him more dimension than just making him just another monster that's trying to destroy everything, and then the humans have to fight him. Like that wouldn't have given much dimension in my opinion. So I like that they went to that. I'm glad they went with that approach. Um, but yeah, I think that's all thoughts I have about it. You have anything to add before we close it out?
No, that's really it. It's just it's a great movie. I would say I definitely would recommend if you haven't seen a Godzilla movie, definitely check it out. Like I said, it's available. You definitely will be able to find it on home media. I wouldn't be surprised if after Kong comes out on digital on physical home media, they do a box set of all the MonsterVerse movies. But definitely, you will easily be able to find this online on TV. So definitely check it out.
It's weird because I have HBO Max and they have Kong and they have King of the Monsters, but they don't have 2014 on there, which is really strange. I don't know why. So I ended up having to rent it on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, I want to get the box set whenever they do that, because I'm pretty sure, like I said, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get the box set, so I'm gonna own that.
But speaking of box sets, also get the Criterion box set that's available. It's the entirety of the Showa era from 1954 to Terror of Mechagodzilla. It's fan fucking tastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, for those of you who haven't watched the classic Godzilla movies, I think you guys should just give it a watch. Yeah, it's going to be cheesy or whatever, but I think those are, I think you guys will enjoy those too.
And plus, they're great. Honestly, they're great stuff to watch if you have a kid who likes Godzilla, who wants to get into Godzilla. Those are perfect to watch for a kid.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
my recommendations to watch for little kids: Godzilla versus Megalon. That's a good one. Godzilla, Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla is a good one. Godzilla versus Kong. And I really think that's it.
Godzilla
Like,
and Gozuki. Godzilla and
now,
Gozuki.
if you're wondering what this damn fool is talking about, there was a Godzilla cartoon that came out when in the 70s by Hanna-Barbera. It's it's not good. I'm gonna say
No,
it
it's
ain't
not.
good. And being a Hanna-Barbera property, it follows the Hanna-Barbera tropes, and they give Godzilla a psychic. It's his nephew, Godzuki. You can skip it. You don't have to watch it.
Yeah,
You can.
no,
You're not missing out much.
no.
Plus, they don't give Godzilla his roar. It's more of like a
Yeah, I'm like, what?
pretty much a guy grunting
I'm like,
into a
what was
microphone.
that? Like, no. I pray to God. We're probably not going to, but I pray to God we don't get no Godzuki or Godzilla Jr. in this MonsterVerse. No, absolutely not. You hear me, Warner Brothers? You hear me, Toho? No, don't do it. All right. Anyway, overall, I thought it was. I thought this was a really good first installment of the MonsterVerse. Um, Up until this point, I thought this was the best American adaptation of Godzilla we've gotten so far. I really like the design of Godzilla. I like the Mutos a lot. Um, it's money whenever they're on screen, the little time they are on screen, but when they are, it's amazing. It's worth the wait, in my opinion. I know for some people it's like, oh my god, they could have done more, but it's like for me, that ending fight though, I was like, okay, fine, you got me, Gareth Edwards, you got me. The characters are fine. Bryan Cranston was fantastic. Ken Watanabe is fantastic. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen. I wish they had more to do. I wish they had more of a tight, script for them to work with. But overall, they're eh. They do what they have to do. Um, I really like the world building that they're establishing in this. The Monarch's really cool, and I like the cinematography, action sequences. So overall, I thought this was a really good first installment, and I was excited to see more. So overall, I will give Godzilla 2014 a B plus. Yuck.
So I like this movie. It's isn't my favorite of the MonsterVerse. From the ones we have right now, it's actually bottom, but that is not a bad thing when compared to how good it got. But as a Godzilla movie, it is still very good. I have retired the rankings of letters. It gets a positive from me. Definitely check it out if you haven't. It's honestly a great way to start Godzilla if you haven't ever watched one. It's even if you are a fan like us, it still is a great movie. And finally, America at the time can say, "Yeah, we finally did Godzilla right after that first time." So it was a good time, and plus it led to so much more. Because let's be real, it's a great time to be a monster movie fan. It's such a
Oh yeah.
great time. Like, who could have thought we would finally have a pretty much another Godzilla versus King Kong? Because the story of how that movie of the original Godzilla vs Kong coming out, it's amazing that movie even happened.
Yeah. Right. Oh, geez, we've come so far. But that's how we feel about Godzilla 2014. What did you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? Comment below and let us know. So, next week, we are going to get in the second installment of the Monsterverse, Kong Skull Island. So, tune in for that when it comes out. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. But that's all we have for you kaiju fans, and we will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.